everybody, it is Sig once again coming at you with another book review. It's March's book review. It's that time once again. We're coming in under the wire. Hopefully I can get this out in March. If I don't get this out in March and you see this next month, like in the beginning of the month, let's just pretend I posted it in March. Anyways, let me take a sip of my tea and then we're gonna get into it, okay? And yes, I am still drinking out of a Christmas mug. I haven't bothered yet to get rid of this one. Well, not get rid of it, but like, put it away and switch out my usual mug. So for March's book review, I was actually kind of shocked at how many books I got through. I got through 4 books, so I was trying to pick between the two, and then a friend of mine, I asked, like, hey, based on these titles alone, which would you like to hear? So we ended up with this book, Without You, There Is No Us, My Time with the Sons of North Korea's Elite, a memoir by Suki Kim. I'll obviously do a more close-up of the cover. This is what it looks like on the back. The back is just reviews. And just so that we're all on the same page, let's read what the book's about. Let's read the covers. Every day, 3 times a day, the students march in 2 straight lines, singing praises to Kim Jong-il and North Korea. Without you, there is no motherland. Without you, there is no us. It is a chilling scene, but gradually Suki Kim too learns the tune and finds herself humming it. It is 2011 and all universities in North Korea have been shut down for an entire year. The students sent to construction fields, except for the 270 students at the all-male Pyongyang University of Science and Technology, PUST, a walled compound where portraits of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il look on impassively from the walls of every room, and where Suki has accepted a job teaching English. Over the next 6 months, she will eat 3 meals a day with her young charges and struggle to teach them to write, all under the watchful eye of the regime. Life at PUST is lonely and claustrophobic, especially for Suki, whose letters are read by censors and who must hide her notes and photographs, not only from her minders but from her colleagues, evangelical Christian missionaries who don't know or choose to ignore that Suki doesn't share their faith. As the weeks pass, she is mystified by how easily her students lie, unnerved by their obedience to the regime. At the same time, they offer Suki tantalizing glimpses of their private selves, their boyish enthusiasm, their eagerness to please, their flashes of curiosity that have not yet been extinguished. She in turn begins to hint at the existence of a world beyond their own, at such exotic activities as surfing the internet or traveling freely, and more dangerously, at electoral democracy and other ideas forbidden in a country where defectors risk torture and execution. But when Kim Jong-il dies, and the boys she has come to love appear devastated, she wonders whether the gulf between the world and theirs can ever be bridged. Without You, There Is No Us offers a moving and incalculably rare glimpse of life in the world's most unknowable country, and of the privileged young men she calls soldiers and slaves. So, that's the premise of the book. It really is what it says on the tin. It's a memoir about Suki Kim's time teaching at PUST. The book is 290, including the author's note. I read that as well because I do think that's important, especially in the case of this. In terms of the actual text, it's 285 pages. I breezed through this relatively quickly. What is there to say about Without You, There Is No Us? I picked this up at a independent bookstore. I purchased this low-key on a whim. One of my goals is to eventually expand my reading pile to books that I don't usually, seek out. So, a memoir about North Korea wasn't necessarily something high on my list. But I'm glad that I picked it up because it's a very interesting read. It's a great insight into, what Suki Kim experienced, and it's very interesting to read about, to read about the glimpses of North Korea. And, it's crazy to think that, because this was, in 2011, lots of stuff happens, and yet a lot of stuff is, hidden from the people of North Korea. And even, the author discusses a lot about, how the North Korean regime tries to hide certain things, and, things are policed. Going into this book, I kind of had the rudimentary American thinking of I know basics about North Korea. I know it's a dictatorship. I know, they have this idea that their leader is the great leader, TM. He's essentially a god, no matter which leader it is at the time. Without You, There Is No Us. It's a simple book about people. It is about one woman attempting to reach out and reconnect to a part of her country of old. And reading it, there were times where I was crying, or at least tearing up, simply because of how devastating it is to read about a country torn apart, torn in half, quite literally. And there were moments where I was struck by just how behind North Korea potentially is in terms of technological advances and such, specifically so that they can keep the flow of information restricted. And I'm coming at this as a white person, so it's not like I 100% would ever be able to understand certain things, but it also strikes me that this book is an interesting insight. It's, this is something I would recommend to anyone who is maybe looking for not necessarily a history book, but more of a nonfiction peek to what's happening, and you grow to care for the students like Kim Suki does. So what is there to say about Without You, There Is No Us? It's a good book. At the end of the day, it is a wonderful memoir. It's one that I'm not going to be getting rid of anytime soon, though I'm not sure if it's a book that I'm gonna keep forever. It really touches upon human factors, the book gives perspective on all that Suki Kim saw during her time in North Korea, during her time at PUST. It's a very interesting look into how North Korea tries to present itself versus the realities of what it is, while also, in my opinion, humanizing it. You grow to love the boys that she's teaching the same way that she grows to love them, but then there's also always this barrier because you're very hyper aware of these boys are being taught a certain way. One of the huge themes of this book is the author realizing how easy it is for her students to lie to her or just make up inane lies that don't really matter. And there is this theme of individualism versus collectivism, where the boys don't necessarily view themselves as individuals. It's more the collective. They want to do good for their country. They will, it's not much of a spoiler, but maybe it is a little bit. But there's a couple scenes where the author's holding office hours, and it isn't until she mandates them all to come as a class to those office hours that any student shows up. And also there's a really creepy factor to the fact that partially the reason why the author was able to even get into North Korea was the fact that Christian evangelicals were attempting to, get their foothold in the door with North Korea in the evangelical Christians' mind, for whenever North Korea was to open up, they would be there already and be like, all right, come convert to Christianity. Things that I really enjoyed about this book was the fact that there was a lot of historical context, as told by, the author. She can relate her own experiences as a South Korean woman. A lot of this delves into her own family's backstory, how during, the split between North and South, there was a moment where some of her family got stuck in North Korea, and how they've never been able to find, reconnect since. And it was very interesting to read someone talk about that disconnect between what is essentially, was once the same country, but now is to the point where they're very vastly different. And like the little book sleeve hinted at, a lot of this book dives into this idea of, is the gap between North Korea and essentially the rest of the world, but also I think specifically South Korea, how big is that divide? Where does it end, and could it ever be bridged or gapped? Can we ever come together? And, I think the book leaves that open-ended in a way that I think is very realistic. I don't know how much I'm going to be putting into this review, not because I find it hard to review this book. It's more simply because this book is it's not necessarily straightforward, because it's still a very interesting read. I wouldn't claim that it was a super page turner, but it kept me captivated from chapter to chapter, page to page. I just don't want to necessarily spoil the whole thing, and also it's more, or at least in my opinion, it's more of a thinker. And one of the most profound moments I had while reading this is there were a lot of times where I was like, wow, the way the North Korean government goes about certain things is almost exactly the same as, any government, because all governments essentially are the same, they suck. But there were a lot of moments where I was like, America has the same, you could draw a line between how similar North Korean, what's the term? North Korean nationalism and American nationalism are almost the exact same thing. Where Americans like to lean so hard into the idea that our government is infallible, our president is infallible, and especially today with, Trump is a figurehead, and even though he's been out of office, people still think he's gonna come back, and how scary it is. That's all I'm really gonna say about Without You, There Is No Us. I would, if you find a copy of this, pick it up, have a read. I really enjoyed it. Speaking of enjoying it, let's get to the good part where I rate it. I'm gonna give Without You, There Is No Us 4 out of 5 stars. Again, my rating is based on what I feel in the moment. It's based on the vibes. I would say that this book is written extremely well. I loved how it was written. It, leaves you on cliffhangers every now and then, but for the most part, it's one continuous story that has enough intrigue that keeps you coming back. Do I have any genuine complaints about it? No. Not at all. Why take off 1 star? Again, it's not like it was my favorite book ever. Out of the 4 books I read this month, this one probably would be my 3rd favorite, I think. It was a good book, good read. It was still interesting. I would still very much recommend this to anyone, especially if you're looking for, just a fun nonfiction read. Pick this bad boy up. Too long, didn't watch. 4 out of 5 stars. This book is worth the read if you can find a copy. At the end of the day, if you're revving for a memoir, very good of a memoir, very well written. I wish that I had a little more enthusiasm for this book, simply because it genuinely is like a good read, and I do think that, you know, more people should read this book probably, just because it gives, again, it just, human, like, at least as an American, there's a lot of stuff thrown around about North Korea, and I think that there are points where people around me start to talk about North Korea as if, like, that isn't a real country, and there aren't really people who live there, and, like, it's not just their leaders, you know? Just like here in the States, it's not just the American president. We've got lots of people who have varying different lives and varying different success rates in this country. And that's all I really have to say about March's book review. So, on that note, if you've read Without You, There Is No Us, tell me about your thoughts in the comments. If you, if you ever pick this book up, come back to this video and tell me in the comments what you thought about it. What else can we say in the comments? Oh, since today's book is a memoir, in the comments below, if you have a memoir that you would like to recommend me, comment it. I will put it on my to-read list, and I will most likely check it out. I have a sizable little to-read list that I've been growing, but I'm also trying to get through some of the new books that I've purchased. So, there's that. But I would love to hear your recommendations. Thanks for joining me yet again for another monthly book review. Look forward to next month's book review. I don't know what that's going to be on. If anyone is interested in hearing about the other books I read in March, let me know in the comments below, and maybe I'll make book reviews for them. I will admit, it's hard for me not to immediately be like, okay, so I'm going to make a book review for every book that I read. Because in the past, it has genuinely been, I've read like at least one book a month. So I'm a little excited to keep doing these. And I keep trying to talk myself down from, you know, doing a review for every book I read, because that would be so silly. But also, who knows? It's my channel, I can do what I want here. I got 18 subscribers. Anyways, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me. I really, really, really appreciate anyone who takes any time of their day to watch any of my videos. I cannot express how happy that makes me. The fact that my Good Omens video is, if I'm remembering correctly, like 50 views away from 900 views, insane to me. That's literally insane to me. And I know some people would be like, oh, well, that's not a lot of views. It is for me. No video of mine, even on my old channel that I used for like school projects and stuff, no video of mine has ever like hit that benchmark. And the fact that I have 18 subscribers thrills me. I'll say this, if I can get if two more people subscribe and I hit 20 subscribers, I'll do something. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna mark that. I'm gonna mark 20 subscribers. Just for funsies. I literally don't know what I would be doing for a marker review. There you go. If you have any ideas for what I should do when I reach 20 subscribers to celebrate, let me know in the comments below. Alright, okay, I'm genuinely gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you stay safe out there, and as I always like to, wrap up these videos, good luck out there.